What is the difference between an appraisal and an inspection?
Yeah, so this is something that trips a lot of people up, actually. So an appraisal, generally speaking, when somebody's getting a mortgage, an appraisal is required by their lender in order to buy the property. The lender, let's say the lender's
Back again, and here we go with the applause. John Brody, and your realty expert with Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey.
Friday, going into a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
I think we had a little chat on Wednesday about your plans for this weekend. Do you guys have to work Monday?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so
No.
3 days of what?
I don't really even know yet.
Are you a fireworks kind of guy?
Yeah, I do like to do fireworks, but we live in town. My parents live in town, so I don't know if we'll get to blast off any, but we'll for sure go to like the fireworks show.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Actually, I was looking at the festival list from the Sertoma Club. Man, they got a lot of stuff going on. 4th of July raffle, all those different things. But, of course, the fireworks always, kind of the head deal there.
Yeah.
But, I've learned so many terms, John, talking with you realty experts. I mean, one thing I could never quite figure out, you hear the word appraisal and the term inspection. What is the difference between an appraisal and an inspection?
Yeah, so this is something that trips a lot of people up, actually. So an appraisal, generally speaking, when somebody's getting a mortgage, an appraisal is required by their lender in order to buy the property. The lender, let's say the lender's buying the house they're paying 95% of it and the borrower is paying 5% of it. They want to make sure that house is actually worth what that buyer agreed to pay for it, right?
Okay.
So the point of an appraisal is to make sure that what they're going to do is they're going to pull comparable sales that have sold within the past year that are similar size, similar style, similar year built, and they're going to make sure that based on what price those comparable sales sold at, that it indicates that the subject property is actually worth what the purchase price is, right? Now, where things get a little bit confusing is there are certain loan types that the appraiser also makes sure that the home is in a certain fits certain condition requirements for those loan types.
Oh, sure.
So when you're talking about like USDA, FHA, and there are actually even some condition requirements for conventional, even though it's much looser.
Okay.
So what they're looking for specifically for like the government loans, USDA, FHA, VA, is making sure there's no chipped and peeling paint, make sure that there aren't any other safety concerns, make sure that there aren't any steps without handrails. So their primary thing is they're making sure there's no safety concerns with the house.
Sure.
And for conventional, they're going to give it a rating anywhere from, I think, the higher the number is, the better.
Okay.
C5 is like the worst, and a conventional loan won't lend on a C5 property. That'd be like if the siding's falling off and stuff
sure.
like that.
Yeah.
But so they just want to make sure it's not a C5 or below or whatever. I don't know if there is anything below a C5, but so that's where people get confused, because this is where it sounds like a home inspection, that it has to pass certain condition requirements, but it's really not. It's just for those loan types. A home inspection has nothing to do with your lender, has nothing to do with your mortgage. It's completely optional. It's just between you, your agent, the home inspector, and the sellers. So the reason for a home inspection is to make sure there aren't any big ticket items that you're going to have to fix shortly after buying the home, and also to check and make sure there aren't any big safety concerns coming in. So both an inspection and an appraisal can trigger a second set of negotiations, second or third set of negotiations.
Okay.
So if a bunch of items come up that are concerning on the home inspection, sometimes there's going to be some negotiation where the seller agrees to fix some of them prior to closing. Maybe the seller agrees to contribute some money to the buyer prior to closing. Usually the seller's not going to take care of absolutely everything, but maybe you get them to take care of a couple of items. On an appraisal, if the value comes in below the purchase price, there's going to be a second set of negotiations unless you've already agreed upon something at the time of the purchase agreement. So if we don't have any sort of agreement in place regarding appraisal to begin with, if the purchase price is $250 and the appraisal comes back at $245, the bank's only going to lend based on the $245 amount. The bank's going to go off of the lesser of the two, purchase price and appraised value.
Sure.
So you're either going to have to get the seller to come down to 245, or you're going to come up with the $5,000 in addition to your down payment and closing costs. That's something you got to figure out. Depending on market conditions, if market conditions are really hot, seller's market, it's more common for the buyer to make some concessions or to agree to some concessions in advance on the appraisal. If it's more of a buyer's market or a balanced market, usually the sellers have to drop their value and accommodate the appraised value. So, mortgages require appraisals. They don't require inspections. Inspections are just for your knowledge only. The thing that really trips people up is when the appraiser visits the property, they refer to that as the inspection, because that's the appraiser walking through the property and inspecting it themselves.
But they're really not.
It's not an inspection. It's
Sure.
a 10-minute walkthrough.
So an inspection is more of a peace of mind kind of thing.
Yep.
And what would a typical inspection cost? I mean, if you're getting ready to spend $250,000, $300,000 on your dream home, you're going to probably want it inspected just to no hidden big ticket, fixers like you said. But is it just for peace of mind? And what normally would it cost?
So yes, it's mainly for peace of mind, and some people use it as an extra negotiating tactic.
If there are things wrong, yeah.
If there are things wrong, and which there will be. I mean,
Sure.
Even on a brand new home, there could be a couple things that are wrong.
Yeah.
That's not really that big of a cause for concern. We expect a list of things from this home inspection. It's going to cost anywhere from like $350 to $400, depending on all the bells and whistles you add to the inspection and the size of the house.
Okay.
Who you use. So we do recommend home inspections. They are optional, so a buyer could decide to waive their home inspection if they were in a multiple offer situation to try to make their offer more attractive, or if the house is so new and so clean that they think it would just kind of be a waste of money. I've seen people waive their home inspection in that case as well.
Okay.
Because a seller would prefer to take an offer that's not subject to home inspection compared to one that is. If
Right, because they could find things.
Yeah, and you expect that they're going to find things, but you don't know how the buyer's going to react to it.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
I mean, they could be simple little things with a screwdriver and a utility knife, Okay, now, on the other hand, if we're talking about this $250,000 house, and say it's listed with you, John, and I come up to you and I say, I want this house, I'll pay cash for it right now. Does it need an appraisal or an inspection or any? Well, it doesn't need an inspection, but does it need an appraisal then?
No, it does not. So that's a good point. If you're using cash, even if, let's say you
because there's no lender involved.
Yeah, because there's no lender involved. So it's all on you. You're financing the whole thing. There's no risk by the bank. So the bank, the bank's not even involved. Let's say you're doing a HELOC on a different property. Let's say you own some farmland. You do a equity line against the farmland and use that to purchase this house. In that case, an appraisal is not going to be required on the house that you're purchasing either. So there's a few different cash alternatives, that's going to act just like a cash offer. So this is part of the reason you can close so much faster on a cash offer, because all that needs to really get done is the title work.
Yeah.
You could still make a cash offer subject to inspection and appraisal, but then it wouldn't be then it really hardly be any more attractive than a financed offer.
Right.
Do
you you guys run into that a lot, being realty experts, where they say, I want this house, I've got the cash, let's do it?
Not that often.
I was gonna say, man, not everybody's got $300,000 laying around,
I ran into so far this year, I think 2 or 3 of my sales have been cash. And then there was one a couple weekends ago, or a couple weeks ago, where my buyer offered on this property. It was a super nice, attractive property. It had like 6 offers, and the winning offer was a cash offer. So we didn't get it because of that. But it's not super, super common, really, no.
Now, if somebody was to buy cash, is that better for you, the realtor, the realty expert? I'm guessing you get paid quicker and all that, but is that something you guys really hope for? Or if it comes along, it's a bonus, or maybe not?
I don't really I don't care if I get paid quicker or slower, but the main thing that I'm concerned about is there's less that can go wrong for my seller. So it is attractive to me because the certainty that it's going to close is there.
Less work for you, I would imagine, too, or not?
Similar. I mean, I have my transaction coordinator, Lexi, who handles everything from contract to close. So the only difference for her is there's no lender to follow up with.
Okay.
There is a little bit less legwork to do from contract to close on a cash deal, but not enough where it would make a difference. But usually a seller will be willing to accept a cash offer if, let's say we get multiple offers, we got 3 offers that are, each $10,000 over asking price. One of them's VA, one of them's conventional financing, and then the third one is cash. Or let's say the cash offer was $2,000 less than the 2 that were $10,000 over. If the cash one has no contingencies and the other 2 offers both have inspection and appraisal contingencies, a seller is going to be pretty likely to take the cash one, even though it's a little bit less, just because it's so much more of a sure deal. There aren't these other steps and hoops that you have to jump through, places where things could go wrong. Then the next attractive would be the conventional offer, just because there's less of those condition requirements and that the buyer has more cash that they're putting down. And then the least attractive of them would be the VA offer, just because depending on the property type, this wouldn't be the case if the property was just in perfect condition. But if there's any concern about it not passing VA condition requirements, that would make the conventional offer more attractive than the VA offer.
So if I was to list a house for sale, and it's been appraised but not inspected, and somebody comes to look at it and says, has it been inspected? Is it typical for me, the seller, to say, well, that's on your dime?
Yep.
Okay, yep. So the prospective buyer would be the one to pay for the inspection.
Exactly. Seller, I've never really run into a case where the seller pays for the inspection, unless they decide to do an inspection before hitting the market so they can fix up any little issues prior, and then just get that step out of the way for everyone.
Okay.
And even if you did an appraisal before you put the home on the market, the bank wouldn't be able to use that appraisal. They'd have to hire their own.
Okay.
They have a pretty specific way of doing things to avoid any sort of funny business, where they have to go through like an appraisal assignment company. I forget the real name of it. Appraisal. So they give the order to an appraisal assignment company, and then that appraisal assignment company randomly picks an appraiser who's going to go out and do the job.
So there's people out there that maybe could end up having to have their home appraised 2 different times. So what I'm getting at is if they would get a hold of a realty expert like you, you're going to alleviate all that. That's part of your job. That's what you do.
Yep. Yeah. So like what I do is not an appraisal, but it's the closest thing that you can, it's basically the realtor's version of an appraisal. So a realtor's version of the appraisal, it's all going to depend on how good the realtor is that's doing it. So a less than average, inexperienced agent doing a CMA is going to be much less reliable than an appraisal. An agent who has an excellent track record whose listings sell at their asking price or more, their CMA is going to be pretty accurate, pretty on par with what an appraisal is going to come in at. And then like things like automatic valuations, where websites spit out a value without even seeing your home, those are going to by far be the least accurate. Right.
All right, man, I learned something new again today, John.
Yeah.
I'm picking up on this a little bit. I'm starting to think maybe I know what I'm going to do if I ever retire from this. I've learned so much from you guys. But if somebody wants to get a hold of realty expert John Brodeen, how do they do that?
Yeah, subscribe to me on YouTube. Check me out on Instagram, John Brodeen Realtor. Go ahead and give me a follow. I post a bunch of local Grand Forks real estate content, educational content for buyers and sellers. If you want to become a client, my cell number is 701-213-5428. You can call or text me.
And I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July weekend, you and the missus. And next time I see you, I'm hoping you got all fingers and toes intact.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. All right. Have yourself a great Independence Day weekend.
You too, John.
All right. There you go. That's your Berkshire Hathaway bi-weekly podcast. That's your realty expert, John Brodeen. And from all of us at Berkshire Hathaway and the studios of Grand Forks Best Source, have yourself a wonderful 4th of July weekend, and we'll catch you again on Wednesday morning.